You don't know, you damn well should know. My name is Rag Reynolds, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've not talked about movies on this channel for quite a while actually, but today I'm going to change that and I'm going to talk about every new movie I saw in 2018. So I use this website called track.tv. Now I wish this website was a sponsor of my videos, but it's not. But I'm happy to promote them anyway because I do really love the website. Anyway, Track TV is a website that I use every single day. It's easily my most used website. What Tracked is a website that allows you to track all movies and television programs that you have watched, that you've collected, or that you intend to watch. It helps you track the progress, what's up next to watch. It gives you a custom calendar so that you can see all the shows you're interested in and when they air, when they premiere, when they're not airing. It also gives you some neat little stats. So right now I just got my end of year 2018 review, and that tells me how many hours I've watched of television, how many hours I've watched of movies, how many movies I have watched, how many in the average day, and it breaks it down time of day, day of the week, what was my most popular week to watch movies, my most popular directors, actors, genres. The website is just absolutely fantastic, and if you're anything like me and you watch a lot of different television shows or a lot of different movies, or you're just really interested in organising yourself in general, it's a fantastic website and you should go check it out, and you should follow my profile on there. It is Rag Reynolds. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because on there I do rate and do little reviews of movies. So I'm going to be using the Tracked TV rating system when I rate you every single movie that I have watched this year. So a 1 out of 10 means weak sauce, 2 is terrible, 3 is bad, 4 is poor, 5 is meh, 6 is fair, 7 is good, 8 is great, 9 is superb, and 10 is totally ninja. Now, I'm not a big fan of the weak sauce and totally ninja comments. For me, 10 basically means masterpiece. It means it's perfect. Nothing could really make it much better. And 1 for me means there's not really a whole lot that could make it worse. It means it's absolutely garbage. Nothing could be worse about it. Now, according to my track, I have watched 105 total movies this year. Now, that does include movies that were not new this year. It also includes replays of movies. So some movies I might have seen 2 or 3 times in the cinema, those movies are counted in those 105 plays. As far as actual new movies that came out in 2018 that I saw 39 movies. Now, I didn't see them all necessarily in order of release date. Most of them I saw in order of release date because normally I go to the cinema a couple of times a week. Sometimes I go once and I see 3 movies in a single day. So I tend to watch movies as they come out. I will be going right back to the beginning of the year, and I will be reading out the movie title going by release date. Not the order I've seen them, but by release. And again, I am only going to be rating the movies that came out this year that I saw. So the first movie is Paddington 2, and you know, I wasn't a big fan of the first Paddington movie, but this one I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. There's a lot of good laughs in it. It caught me by surprise at how much I actually enjoyed it. So I give this movie a 7. Tonya. This was a pretty good movie. It wasn't great or anything, but yeah, I give it a 7. Den of Thieves. This is one that I didn't see in cinema. I know it was in cinema and I went to go see it at one point, but I ended up seeing something else that appealed more to me at the time. It must have been the start times didn't line up very well or something. I ended up seeing something else. I eventually watched it on Netflix a few weeks back. Wasn't a huge fan of the movie. It was okay, but it wasn't that great. I mean, I give it a 6. Hostiles. You know, I'm not normally a big country and western movie fan, but this one I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of tense moments. The action was very good. There's just the drama there. It was a good movie. I give it a 7. Maze Runner: The Death Cure. I thought that the first Maze Runner movie was okay. I thought the second one was slightly better in some ways, slightly worse in other ways than the first movie. Both of those movies I think I gave 7s to on Track. However, this movie, I hated it. I really did not like it at all. I'm probably being pretty generous with my rating. I have given it a 5, which is a meh. Honestly, I could probably bump that down to a 4, but I'm going to be generous for now and say a 5 just because I did enjoy the first 2 movies. But yeah, I really did not like this movie. Next up we have the movie that is probably what everyone expected to be the worst movie of the year, and it probably was, and that's 50 Shades Freed. There's not much I really need to say about this other than that it was definitely far worse than the other 50 Shades movies, and I mean that's no small feat because those were not good movies at all, but this one still somehow manages to be the worst of the 50 Shades movies, and that's why I give this movie a 3. Peter Rabbit. The trailers looked pretty good. It looked like, oh, there's going to be a few funny moments. So I went to see Peter Rabbit with my girlfriend. My girlfriend laughed a few times, but I was so pissed off with this movie. I hated it so much. Oh, I can't think of another movie that I really ranted about as much as I ranted about this one when I came out. I ranted about it for anyone that was listening to me rant about Peter Rabbit for like 2 weeks afterwards. It really just irked me the wrong way. Peter Rabbit himself, the character, was just an absolute cunt. Even at one point uses this guy's allergies to try and kill him, essentially. And he said it was a prank. I was just really annoyed because Peter Rabbit's supposed to be the nice guy. He's just trying to feed his family and all that. But no, apparently Peter Rabbit is the biggest dick in the world. This guy's just trying to defend his property, put some traps in or whatever to keep them away. But no, Peter Rabbit has to run in there, and then we're all supposed to feel sorry for him. And the love interest of this guy is supposed to, she's supposed to, for some reason, she's against him with all these stupid rabbits, even though the rabbits are the ones who are at fault here. He's just doing a very reasonable thing. What would you do if there was a bunch of animals in your house partying and making a mess and you came home? I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't be very happy either. You'd kick them out, you'd try to kill them. I mean, it's a very rational position this guy took. He wasn't super evil or anything. That's why I had to give this movie a 4. I mean, I could have given it a 3, but there were a few moments that I maybe laughed at, or there were maybe just a few redeeming qualities of the movie. I can't really think of them at the time, but I do know that when I rated the movie originally, I probably did have a reason for giving it a 4 rather than a 3. So yeah, I give it a 4. Black Panther. Black Panther was a movie that was very good Marvel movie. However, I also thought that it was very overrated. People were saying it's the best Marvel movie ever made. And I'm like, no, it's not even the best Marvel movie this year. I mean, this was the first one to be released at this point of the year. No, it wasn't even the best one. There were better Marvel movies that came later in the year, which we'll get to. But no, it wasn't the best of the year. People kept saying, "Oh, the villain was so great." I thought the villain was just a whiny bitch, to be honest. I wasn't a fan of him at all. The movie itself was good, as I say, and that's why I'm giving it a 7. But no, it wasn't anything special like people were trying to make out that it was. The Death of Stalin. This was a comedy movie about the death of Stalin. There were a few chuckles in there, but overall I found myself nodding off to sleep for the most part, so I'm giving it a 5. A Wrinkle in Time. Now this is a movie, a kids movie, that I actually thought looked very good. I saw the trailers and I'm like, oh, that looks very interesting. Me and my girlfriend were both quite looking forward to seeing this movie. I never saw it in theatres. Eventually I watched it online and I hated it. I really did not like it. I was so disappointed. Oh, the child acting was terrible, the effects weren't very good, the whole premise of the whole thing just wasn't good at all, and that's why I'm giving A Wrinkle in Time a 4. Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is basically your average action movie. It was okay. As far as video game movies go, this was a fantastic movie. I gave Tomb Raider a 6, which is fair. Love, Simon. I really wasn't looking forward to this movie. I watched the trailers and I'm like, oh, it's one of these movies, and I'm sure you know what I mean if you have seen the trailer. But when I actually watched the movie, I watched it with my girlfriend, and I actually thought it was a decent movie. It was alright. It wasn't as bad as the trailers had led me to believe it was going to be. It was a decent movie. I had a few big issues with it while the movie was going on, the little stupid things. In general, the movie was pretty decent, so I'm giving it a 7. Isle of Dogs. You know, I loved this movie. It was very, very good. A lot of good laughs. The animation style, Wes Anderson is just fantastic. This movie gets a 7 from me. I Kill Giants. I wasn't sure what to expect going into this movie. I honestly hadn't heard anything about it, and it popped up on Netflix, and I thought, well, let's try it. And I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and I'm giving this one a 7 as well. Ready Player One. Now, Ready Player One was quite a hyped up movie. The effects in it are fantastic, the premise is fantastic, The acting's a bit all over the place, but for the most part it's quite solid. The story itself isn't that great, the plot, it's whatever. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think I saw it 3 times in the cinema. It was just really great to watch, especially on the big screen. I'm personally giving this movie an 8 because I really did enjoy it, even though it wasn't by any means a perfect movie. A Quiet Place. You know, I thought there was a lot of potential with A Quiet Place. I really enjoyed the first half of the movie, but towards the second half of the movie, towards like the third act, I wasn't enjoying it the same. I didn't really like it that much, so I'm giving A Quiet Place a 6. Rampage. I enjoyed Rampage quite a bit actually. I expected to hate it. I thought it was just going to be an over-the-top, cheesy, disaster monster movie. And that is what it was. I wasn't wrong thinking that. Everything about it just does it very well. It sticks to the genre, it sticks to the tone it's going for. And overall, it was just an enjoyable, fun movie, and that's why I'm also giving this movie a 7. Avengers Infinity War. This movie, for me, is the greatest Marvel movie ever made. People might dispute that, people will debate that to the end of the earth, I'm sure they will. But for me, it is the best Marvel movie made. I mean, as far as a traditional movie goes, it's not that. It's not set up like a traditional movie. I mean, it's a movie that expects you to have watched the up-teen movies that came before it. It's just a movie that expects you to know who these characters are, expects you to care already, and then all the stakes are laid on the table, and then the action takes place. And this movie is just fantastic. From start to finish, there is no boring moment here. It is a fantastic piece of art. I loved Avengers Infinity War. I saw it 3 times in the cinema. It is, I think, according to Tracked, it is my most watched movie this year, followed by Ready Player One, just because it's a long movie and I saw it 3 times. But yeah, I really did enjoy Avengers Infinity War, and if you are a Marvel fan and you haven't seen this movie, what are you doing with your life? It is fantastic, and the ending, best Marvel ending we've ever seen. So I'm giving it a 9. Deadpool 2. You know, I really enjoyed the first Deadpool movie. I think I gave it an 8 or something on Track. I was a little underwhelmed by Deadpool 2. It just felt like more of the same. It felt like it was the same thing as the last movie, which wasn't a bad thing. I mean, it was good because the first movie was so good, but I think because it was just more of the same, and no one expected the first movie to be as good as it actually was, and I think that's why so many people absolutely loved it. And it's one of the reasons I think I loved it as well. It was just so over the top, and it's, oh my god, a Marvel movie, and they're saying all these swear words non-stop, and it's just breaking the fourth wall. It was fantastic, fantastic stuff. But then we get to Deadpool 2, and there are a lot of laughs. There is a lot of good stuff in there, but overall I didn't feel like it quite lived up to the first movie. I mean, if I'm to actually look at it, I think it might actually be a better movie. The plot might be better than Deadpool 1's plot was, but for some reason I just don't think it's as good. I don't know what it is. I just didn't enjoy watching this movie as much as the first one, and that's why I have to give it a 7. Solo, a Star Wars story. You know, I heard a lot of people shitting on this movie, saying it was terrible, and then Darth Maul shows up and it's so terrible as well. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you've not seen that movie. It's a tiny little thing at the end, but I actually quite enjoyed the movie, if I'm going to be honest. I didn't get the hate that everyone was giving it. I didn't think it was deserved. Quite enjoyed the movie, and I'm giving it a 7. Adrift. This movie was about what I expected it to be. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I probably enjoyed it slightly more than I didn't enjoy it, and for that reason, I'm giving it a 6. Tag. Tag is your typical comedy movie. It wasn't the worst comedy movie I've ever seen. There were a few laughs in it, but for the most part, most of the laughs just skipped right by me. I didn't find it very funny. At the times when they had their biggest laughs or biggest running gags or whatever, those were the times I wasn't really laughing. I was laughing more at the small bits of humour. So overall, I didn't really hate it, but I didn't like it either, so I'm giving it a 5. Incredibles 2. I'll be honest, Incredibles was my favourite Pixar movie. I think I gave it an 8 or a 9 on Tracked, but Incredibles 2, we waited so long for it and I was so excited for it, but then it comes and I was so underwhelmed. So underwhelmed. It's not a bad movie by any means, it is a good movie to watch. A lot of laughs, good action, good characters, decent plot. But it's just so underwhelming. We waited all this time for Incredibles 2 and I just found it so underwhelming compared to the first movie. And I also found it so predictable as well. I mean, I'm not expecting some sort of super elaborate plot. It is a kid's movie in the end, I suppose. Instantly, from like the very beginning, I knew that this bad guy wearing this mask and whatever, it was obvious that it was one of these people that we thought was supposed to be a good guy. It was obvious they were up to no good. I mean, so yeah, I just found it underwhelming, and that's why I'm giving it only a 7. Tao. I enjoyed Tao. I watched it on Netflix. It's a Netflix movie. There was a lot of issues with it. I did enjoy it though, and I'm giving it a 6. Ant-Man and the Wasp. This, for me, it was... I enjoyed this movie better than I enjoyed Black Panther, but it wasn't as good as Infinity War. I also didn't think it was substantially better than Black Panther, which is why I'm giving it the same rating as I gave Black Panther, which is a 7. Hotel Transylvania 3. I'm giving it a 5. Mission Impossible Fallout. I'm giving this movie a 7. It's what you'd expect. It's Mission Impossible. A simple favour. You know, I was quite intrigued by the premise of this movie. I didn't really know much about it at all. It was like my girlfriend said, let's go see this movie, and I said, what's it about? And she told me. So she told me a couple of sentences. I'm like, okay, it sounds quite interesting. So we went to see it. She really enjoyed it. I hated the movie. I didn't like it at all. I thought there were so many inconsistencies, so many plot holes, so much of it just didn't make any sense at all, and the acting to me just seemed very off as well. So I'm giving this movie a 4. Venom. I think the best way to describe Venom is probably hot garbage. I mean, it was filled with entertaining moments, but at the same time it was also a terrible movie. So I'm going to give it a 5 because I think it kind of balances itself out. Malevolent. I'm giving this movie a 4. I don't like horror movies, and for good reason. I think horror movies are garbage, especially modern horror movies. They overuse jump scares, the plots are terrible, the characters are inherently stupid, and this movie was no different to any of those, so I'm giving it a 4. Johnny English Strikes Again. I loved the Johnny English movies, and I really enjoyed this movie. There were a lot of good laughs, but it definitely was not quite as good as the previous one, and there were quite a few laughs that I also missed me. I didn't laugh at them. So this one I'm giving a 6. Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, I know a lot of critics didn't like this movie and they complained about it and gave it bad reviews, but I really enjoyed this movie. It's a movie, I didn't see it until quite late on in the release cycle. I actually thought I was going to miss it in cinemas because there were so many times I went to go see it and I ended up seeing something else because the timings didn't add up for me with the time I was at the cinema. But eventually I did see it with my girlfriend, and I really enjoyed the movie. The only thing that annoyed me about the movie was that they never played the full song, Bohemian Rhapsody. They never played the full song, and that annoyed me. They played parts of it. They played a little part here, a little part there. They played a long part here, but they never just played the song from start to finish. And I don't know if they did that with any movie and I don't know if they did that with any other songs in the film. I can't quite remember now, but I don't think they really did. And I would have just loved to have had the song just played, even if it was just in a montage. Just play the entire song, please. I'm giving this movie an 8. Outlaw King. Described to me as essentially a sequel to Braveheart. I'm not a fan of Braveheart, may I add. I really enjoyed Outlaw King. I thought Chris Pine was great in the role, and as far as I can tell, it was pretty historically accurate. Outlaw King was a very good film, I thought, and I'm giving it an 8. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I was very disappointed with this movie. I thought that the first Fantastic Beasts movie might actually be better than any of the Harry Potter movies. I mean, I really like the Harry Potter movies, and as a whole they are fantastic. But if we were to take any single Harry Potter movie and compare it to the first Fantastic Beasts movie, I think the first Fantastic Beasts movie is better than any of them. I really enjoyed it. I gave it an 8 or a 9 on Tracked when it came out. But this one, I was so underwhelmed. Again, a lot of movies this year were underwhelming me, and this was another one. I was so disappointed. The trailers looked great, it started off great, but I was just so underwhelmed by the movie. It wasn't that great, and it felt like they were throwing in plot twists just for the sake of having a plot twist. It just didn't hit me the right way, you know? So I'm giving it a 6. The Princess Switch. Now, I'm not even going to talk about why I watched this movie, but I watched it on Netflix, and I'm giving it a 5. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Another underwhelming movie, I thought. I'm going to give it a 6. I gave the original Wreck-It Ralph movie a 7, I think. But I don't know, I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first movie. Maybe it's just because I'm older now. Maybe it's because had seen a lot of movies this year already. Maybe I was just in a picky mood that day. I don't know, but I just found it, again, very underwhelming, like a lot of other movies this year. Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. Now, this is a movie that was not underwhelming. This is one of my favourite movies of the year, and in fact, I think it is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And that's big praise coming from me, because I have never watched a Spider-Man movie that I inherently disliked. I know a lot of people hate on Spider-Man 3 or on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's lots of other complaints as well about other Spider-Man movies I won't get into, but I've never actually inherently disliked a Spider-Man movie. I have enjoyed every single one of them. I can acknowledge that some are better than others. I can acknowledge that some have glaring faults and are nowhere near perfect or even good movies. But I really enjoy all the Spider-Man movies, but this one might be the best Spider-Man movie. And I'm giving it an 8. Mortal Engines. This is another movie that critics really bombarded with negative reviews. Everyone I spoke to about the movie really didn't like it. My girlfriend didn't like it either, but I found it quite enjoyable. I mean, the characters were a bit weak, and the plot itself was quite simple, and some of the character motivations were silly. But in the actual concept of the movie, about these predator cities and whatever, although it wasn't fully capitalised on, it was a fantastic premise, and the world building that actually goes on in this movie is fantastic, and that's kind of what redeems it in my eyes, and that's why I'm going to give it a 6. And finally, we have Aquaman. And again, Aquaman was another very underwhelming movie for me. It wasn't bad, it certainly wasn't bad, it was pretty decent, but I enjoyed the first 20-30 minutes quite a lot, and then I just got bored. I just wasn't enjoying it. There's this whole scene in the desert I really hated. There's just a lot of stuff in it I really didn't like. It just didn't quite click with me very well. So for me, at the moment, Wonder Woman is still easily the best DC movie other than the Dark Knight trilogy. For Aquaman, I'm giving it a 6. So those are the 39 movies that came out in 2018 that I watched in 2018. I might actually see 1 or 2 more movies before the end of the year, but by the time I do, I wouldn't have time to record this video and get it out. If I do see another movie, it's most likely to be Mary Poppins Returns. It looks like it's going to be okay. If I was to give an estimate of how I'm going to rate it, I'm probably going to give it around a 7. I would think, if it meets my expectations. If it's lower than what my expectations are, it might get a 5 or a 6. If it exceeds them, then it might get an 8. But I don't see it going higher than an 8, and I don't see it going really lower than a 6 or a 7. So I'm expecting to probably give it a 7 when I do see it. I might not see it until the new year, but we'll see what happens. And just to round things up, I do have some notes written down before I started recording this video, and I wrote down that the worst movie I saw this year was easily 50 Shades Freed. But everyone expected that to be bad, so instead I'm going to say that my pick for worst movie of the year is a tie between A Wrinkle in Time and Peter Rabbit. But then I remember that those are kids' movies, so maybe I should choose something more sophisticated. So, my actual pick for worst movie that I saw this year is A Simple Favor. As far as the best movie I saw this year goes, for me it was Avengers Infinity War. I watched that 3 times in cinema, but I also want to give a shout out to Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse, because that really was a fantastic movie in a way that I just did not expect. So, do you agree with me on some of these ratings? Were there movies that I should have watched this year that I didn't? What was your favourite movie this year? What was your least favourite movie this year? Please leave a comment down below. Feel free to just write out every single movie that I listed and give it your own rating and see how we compare. And until next time, you're all welcome, society.
There is a man called